What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martinson. Dave, how about them Patriots, man? How are you feeling about their Super Bowl chances?
Why you gotta ruin the mojo that fast? Zen.
Gotta wear the hat, man.
All those Final Fours.
If the Patriots' route to the Super Bowl or to another championship is Mariota, Blake Bortles, and like Case Keenum or Nick Foles, damn, like couldn't get much luckier than that.
Tough one.
But we are not a sports podcast. We're going to be talking a lot of music this week. But before we get started, if you want to help us out, smash that subscribe button. We have some new subscribers. Hello to all of you. Thank you for helping us out. Spread the word. Also, find all of our content, our recent past and our far past, at soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. We're going to be having a great year this year. We're going to be talking a lot of music, movies, TV, video games, whatever you want us to be talking about. So help us out. Tweet at the show at NostalgiaPod as well with any suggestions. Let's start off. This is a album I did not think I'd be talking about, Dave, but Camila Cabello.
Yeah, man. It's good.
Yeah, I know. Breakout star from Fifth Harmony, a group that started on the X Factor 5 years ago, 2012.
Yeah, it was what do you call it? A manufactured pop group, pop quintet, and Camila was the breakout star. She became the most famous person early on, and then she broke away from the group about a year ago now. But it was kind of obvious to see that coming. She had that I Know You Did Last Summer hit with Shawn Mendes and the Bad Things song with Machine Gun Kelly. Those were both big hits, and she was still in the group. So it was obvious that there was more to her star than being part of I want to say manufactured group, but like that's a label act, Fifth Harmony,
Right.
A lot of songwriters, a lot of producers, it wasn't very artistic. And we actually chimed in on the third Fifth Harmony record last summer, which came out without Camila, of course, and it wasn't very good. It was really a snooze fest. And I didn't know what to expect from Camila's solo record because she doesn't have the strongest voice, she's not Katy Perry or Demi Lovato, but she knows how to use her voice well, which I think is, it's a big standout on this record, which was, a short but surprisingly effective debut. I was very impressed.
Yeah, especially this album was supposed to drop in October, and they ended up pushing it back a couple months. So when she first started making this album, she started recording with like Pharrell, a couple of other high-profile producers, but she ended up
Diplo.
Yeah, Diplo. She ended up really making a pretty toned down album. Like there's not a lot of, I wouldn't say there's a lot of crazy production in here. No. There's a lot of auto-tune on her voice, which, talking about her not being the strongest vocalist makes sense. But overall, this album, it's minimalist. It's fun to listen to. So I think there's some strong, some not as strong, but overall a solid first solo album for Camila Cabello. Any songs that stand out to you on the album?
Oh yeah, I think Into It, the last track, is probably her next big hit. I think that's pretty preordained at this point. I also really liked In the Dark, the song before that. I really think it ends really strongly. Havana, obviously the big smash hit lead single that is up to number 2 right now. I imagine with the streams from the first week's sales, it'll hit number 1. So good for her with that. That song is actually probably the most lively and unique song on the record because it's not like everything else, which is, like you said, much more minimalist, toned down vocally. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect her to be quite this much of a commercial force. She broke the record by going number 1 in 100 countries on iTunes, which is a record for a female artist.
Yeah, she's only the 11th person to ever do that. 11th artist ever.
Right, and I mean a nondescript January release. It's not much competition. I mean, this is going to be the first big record of 2018. But yeah, I mean, for good reason. I think there's a lot to like on it, and also, I mean, Havana is been the top pop song on the radio charts for 7 weeks, which is the longest run for a female performer since I Knew You Were Trouble era Taylor Swift. So
Wow.
Havana's doing great, and like I said, it'll get to #1 soon. But yeah, overall, it's a really surprising album. I mean, I think I was just thinking of all the pop and R&B records I listened to last year, and I mean, Lorde and Dua Lipa were in my top 10, but after those two, there weren't really any pop or R&B records that I really liked. You know, I mean, this would probably be really high up on my 2017 list for that genre.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about our most anticipated albums of the year, but kind of a look at the landscape and people that are either rumor album confirmed coming out this year. It looks like the biggest pop female singer would be Ariana Grande.
Yeah, Ariana, and then after that, probably Selena Gomez. The album is supposed to be coming soon, but yeah, it's just those two.
Yeah, and then I mean, those are her contemporaries: Sky Ferrara, Carly Rae Jepsen, also, and Madonna said she might drop an album this year.
Yeah, I saw that. We'll see. We'll let them come out first.
She said after a year of being a house mom in Portugal that now she's ready to drop an album. Sounds like she's got a lot to talk about.
Inspiration.
Camila Cabello not going to be headlining any festivals this year, but not a lot of people are going to be headlining festivals this year. Nope. It's a lot of major festivals have now dropped their 2018 lineups, including Coachella, Governor's Ball, Firefly, Boston Calling, Shaky Knees,
Bonnaroo.
Yeah, Bonnaroo. It's a pretty disappointing music festival lineup here. But what have your takeaways been so far from what you've seen?
Yeah, no, I think the takeaway has to be that it's disappointing because the top of the lineups, the meat and potatoes of the cards, it's very homogenous. It's very boring because of the lack of variety. There's only 12 unique headliners between the big 6 festivals. I mean, it's what Eminem, Jack White, Beyonce, Weeknd, Travis Scott, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Queens of the Stone Age, The National, The Killers, Chainsmokers, Kendrick, and Muse. That's it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy that bands like The National and Queens of the Stone Age are headlining because
I know.
I don't know. I know it's at Shaky Knees, which is a rock oriented festival. Right. So they're
their own unique thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, they had such a strong lineup a couple of years ago when they got the Strokes, when only the Governor's Ball had also gotten them. So it's getting second on the Boston festival just in general, I don't think, although they did get David Byrne, which is a solid like old time act to have #4, and Tenacious D, which is also like a exciting like kind of what the fuck out of nowhere act. But overall that lineup's very underwhelming. And even Coachella, which they have by far the deepest lineup this year. They recycled The Weeknd, who did pretty much every major festival last year. And Beyonce was supposed to perform last year, but she had her baby. So I wonder who would have even taken that spot this year. Probably would have been someone like Jack White or The Killers. Expect to see one of them headlining there next year. Just, it's so disappointing. We've been talking about festivals and the direction that they're moving in just in general. I mean, how can anyone really get excited when you see the same artists can be playing everywhere? Like, what's the point of these festivals if you can go see everybody everywhere?
Yeah, it's weird too because Coachella actually grossed like 21% more than they did in 2016. So Coachella's like doing really well, very successful at the moment, but it's kind of unclear how some of the other ones are doing. I think a part of it is that a lot of these like at least every major festival here has like a sister festival in terms of ownership. They're run by the same place, so they're booked by the same people. It's cheaper to book the same act at 2 festivals, than book 2 separate acts. So that's a factor. But I think a big part of it is like rap's domination and like rock's fall from grace. You kind of see it in the lack of artists because there aren't any rock acts from this decade that you'd be excited about them headlining a festival. If that was the case, you'd be disappointed that was the biggest act, I mean, all the big rock acts we're seeing, are Arctic Monkeys, The Killers. These are old bands. These are the only bands that have any pull, So when it's going to be all rappers, and then smaller acts, because there's only so many, big bands, I don't know. It's tough to get people excited. And then you look at the fact that last year, 2017, according to Pitchfork, Of course, across 23 major festivals, only 12% of the acts booked were solo female performers or all female groups. And you can see that again this year. There's not a lot of women, on the cards. I mean, Halsey even tweeted about it in terms of Firefly, but they all, are culprits. So that doesn't help either. There's a lot of negativity, but at the end of the day, like, if we're booking the same few people, and most of those acts are also touring, like Eminem, Beyonce, and Jack White are the only headliners that are unique to this year. Everyone else was available to see last year somewhere, so it doesn't feel special.
Yeah, and you wonder who could be headlining these festivals for female artists. Florence and the Machine has headlined in the past. Alabama Shakes, Paramore could possibly be headlining some of these. Nicki Minaj has an album upcoming this year. Maybe after that album, she'll be able to headline, especially maybe like Governor's Ball or the Meadows, something like that.
Yeah, Gaga did last year, right?
Yeah, Gaga did Coachella. Halsey could possibly headline at this point.
Yeah, she's high up on one of them, but not a headliner.
Yeah, but like in the past, you think like Katy Perry or someone like that could, but Katy Perry had a really bad year last year critically. You don't see her having the kind of pull, or that anyone would be like, wow, Katy Perry is going to be at Coachella or going to be at Governor's Ball. So,
right. And like, who are the two like big like female breakouts last year? Probably SZA and Cardi B. Yep. I mean, SZA is at a few of them and Cardi's at one of them, but like, it doesn't change anything, honestly, at the end of the day, even though they're there.
Yeah. And like Haim was a female rock band that was on pace to possibly move into that sphere. Their album also was I wouldn't say a dud, but it was middling. So that's not getting anyone excited to see him this year. Fleetwood Mac could be a generational talent, that could possibly headline, but they haven't really been headlining except for the classic East or the classic West. So it's hard to say right now who could really be jumping into these spots and really dominating or getting those upper tier bookings. So it's a hard situation though, because especially with the whole climate of Hollywood right now, and music is part of that, you want to be moving towards giving people shine that deserve to have their shine. And right now it doesn't seem like music festivals are moving that way.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Governor's Ball, about halfway down the poster, Kalela's there, and her album was a huge critical hit, right? Yep. Let Me Know is a great song. But, again, there's not enough pull in. If you listen to, like people from Founders or any of like the big festival organizers, Live Nation, whoever it may be, they'll kind of tell you that they understand. There's no doubt that there's a diversity problem, a gender diversity problem. But at the same point, it's a business, and there needs to be the artist available. They have to both want to be, doing the festivals and also be hot enough or in demand enough to warrant being booked. So I don't know. I think just saying that there's not enough female, acts in that vein, I feel like that's like not the answer anyone wants to hear, and it's not totally true, but it's probably a factor to some degree, unfortunately.
If you had to pick one of these festivals to go to, I'm guessing it would probably be Coachella. Taking that off the table between Governor's Ball, Boston Calling, Firefly, Bonnaroo, Shaky Knees. I don't think you're gonna pick Shaky Knees.
Why do you say that?
Which one would you go to?
In fact, discounting when they occur, because I won't go to Boston Calling, even though it's where I live. Yeah, I like to think big on Memorial Day, so I probably won't go to that. Yeah, it's tough. I went to Governor's Ball and Meadows last year. Meadows and Lala, Oshiega, all the later year festival lineups aren't out yet, but we'll chime in on those when they do drop. But for these major ones that are out now, because they're so similar, it really, like, I'm not excited about seeing Eminem, but he's at all of them. And I've seen Kendrick before. It's probably Governor's Ball, just because I've never seen Travis and I've really wanted to see him, and he has such a great live reputation. But I'm there for the rock first, but he also has with him, Lil Uzi Vert. I've seen him. Brockhampton, I'll be seeing them soon. 2 Chainz, I've seen him. Like Jay Electronica, Amine, and Vic Mensa are the other rappers on that lineup that I haven't seen. So like, I don't know, like none of these would inspire me to get a 3-day pass. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and you know, I think this is also a problem is as more and more people are going to festivals, I think it becomes less and less intriguing because you're not seeing as many new acts that you want to see because you've seen a lot of them before. For me, if I had to pick one, it would probably be. I mean, if there was nothing else involved in the timing, I'd probably do Boston Calling, just because those first like four lines just speak to me in my personal taste. But I don't know. Firefly, I think I might grab a day pass, especially because I've heard rumors that they might stack Kendrick and Arctic Monkeys. And if that's the case, like buying a day pass and just seeing those two is totally worth, you know, like the 100 and what, 20, $30 it would cost.
Right.
I don't know, man.
I feel like you look at all these lineups, you could definitely build a festival that you really want to go to if you combine them. Like Bonnaroo is the only one that has Anderson .Paak.
Right.
That bums me out, you know?
And Sturgill Simpson. Like that would be a great booking anywhere else.
And Coachella is the only one with Cardi B or Vince Staples, you know? Like if those, like, yeah, you like my taste, your taste, anyone's taste, it was definitely in play to have like the perfect one, but alas, we don't have it.
Right. So it's going to be an interesting year for festivals. It'll be interesting how the lineups play into their success. One that I wanted to shout out that I wish I could go to, Mad Cool Fest in Madrid. The headliners are Pearl Jam, Arctic Monkeys, Jack White, Depeche Mode, with the second tier being Tame Impala, Nine Inch Nails, and Alice in Chains. So
wow.
If you want to go see a good rock festival and money's not an option for you, go see that festival because you're not going to catch a better lineup in America this year.
Yeah, in terms of hip hop, I'm still holding out for the second iteration of Rolling Loud down in Miami because last year's was ridiculous, and now they have more money, so I assume it's going to be really cool again. So
you don't want to go to Japan?
Rolling Loud Japan? Yeah, probably not. I gotta shout out them though. They had Rolling Loud Bay Area, Rolling Loud SoCal, as well as the Miami one. And then they announced the Japan one. It'll be back in Miami. So quick risers for sure.
Definitely. Well, when you get a lineup like they had in Miami last year, you're gonna draw people in. And speaking of artists that we want to see if we could build our perfect lineup, there's a ton of albums coming out and a ton of rumored albums this year. It's a hard conversation to have because there's just so many different directions to go in. But maybe we'll start with, what is the number one album you are most excited for in 2018?
Yeah, tough call. Like you said, there's not much like officially on the docket. Like we had the Justin Timberlake album that we talked about last week. Soundcloud Nostalgia Pod comes out in the second. Charlie Puth album comes out in May. MGMT announced an album. There's really nothing like, and that should be cool. It's been a long time for them.
Little Dark Age.
But there's nothing else. Like I think Jack White officially announced, but like there's nothing else like on the calendar, right?
Yeah, not
speculating at this time. But
Ray Shremmer is supposed to come out end of the month.
Yeah, Strum Life 3 and Culture 2 are both imminent. Again, take your time, guys. It's fine. But in terms of stuff that an album that is at least 2 years away from the last album from the artist, I'd probably go with Anderson .Paak because Malibu will be 2 years old in a few months. Between Malibu and then Yes Lord, his No Worries collaboration with Knowledge. He had so many songs I loved in 2016, and he has been in the booth a while. He was touring a lot. Now that he's back, full brand awareness. Now everyone in the industry knows who he is. I'd like to see what he can do now that the doors are fully open for him. And obviously I loved his last record, so I think he'll have more good shit.
Yeah, I go back to Malibu so frequently, dude. That album just bangs. And I keep a list of vinyl records that I most want to get, and Malibu's like right at the top of my list right now.
That's a good one.
Probably one of my next purchases. The album I'm most excited for this year, Vampire Weekend.
Oh, I was gonna guess Arctic Monkeys.
They're my number two. So Vampire Weekend hasn't dropped an album since Modern Vampires of the City in 2013, which was critically acclaimed as one of the best albums of the year. I think NPR had it number one, as did many places. they lost a member. So Rostam, I'm gonna butcher this last name. I'm just gonna say Rostam.
Would it be right?
It's Bob Monglish.
Right. It's like an instrumentalist, producer guy.
Yeah,
part of the band.
He was their keyboardist since the inception. He's still helping them produce the album, and they had a amicable split. But Vampire Weekend always is able to find a new twist on their albums and always create excellent songs that are catchy and fun. They're probably one of the most fun headlining acts I ever caught at a festival too. I saw them at Governor's Ball back in 2014, and they just were like electric. I was very close to the stage, and it was just a party. So I'm really excited to see what they come out with. Their working title is Mitsubishi Macchiato.
Right.
I mean, I hope they find a new title. But overall, I'm really excited to see what they come out with. It should be a lot of fun.
They've had a lot of solo records come out of that group, and Ezra Koenig's kind of an interesting guy. Like, he's a Beats One host now, and he had that Neo Yokio American anime with Jaden Smith on Netflix. So he's been around, so he's probably, it would make sense for him to come back to music, because again, it's been 5 years almost.
Yeah. Also, there's this song he was featured on with a band called The Very Best, or not a band, it's a DJ and producer group. It's a very funny video. Check it out. It's called Warm Heart of Africa. It's just it brings a smile to my face just thinking about it, because it's very like weird and goofy, and Ezra Koenig is just a weird guy. And
right.
I admire that. But yeah, you mentioned the Arctic Monkeys. They also are slated to release an album. Firefly is their first scheduled performance for the year, but I'm guessing that they're going to have a tour probably end of the year into next year, and probably do at least one. Like, I think they're almost definitely confirmed for Lollapalooza. I'm sure they'll do another festival sometime. I would probably guess like Made in America or something like that. Yeah, and I mean, AM, it was a huge breakout album for them in 2014, which is hard to say breakout album for a band that was already pretty well known, but this really like moved them into the next stratosphere in terms of their clout in the rock game. Alex Turner's been with doing the Last Shadow Puppets for the last like year and a half, so I'm excited to see what comes out of this. And I mean, that they're just a class act rock band at this point, so it'll be a good album, almost guaranteed. What's your number 2 album that you're most excited for?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think technically I'd probably have to say King Push by Pusha T. This album was supposed to come out a while ago. What do you call it? Darkest Before the Dawn, the prelude to King Push. That came out December 2015, so it's been quite a while. And Pusha, it's unclear how much he's actually been working versus just running good music. You know, he's the president. He does all the oversees the operations. It's not really Kanye's show over there anymore. So it's unclear how much he's been working. I saw him pop up for Gorillaz. He seems well, but if King Push would manage to come out, you know, it's been so long, and he's such a great lyricist that it would be awesome. But I'm not gonna get my hopes up that it's anytime soon.
Pusha T makes songs that just want to make me like run through a wall or like lift heavy things, like just badass songs. Dude.
Makes you want to arrest yourself.
Yeah, you mentioned the Gorillaz. How you saw him come out for Gorillaz. There's like a rumor that Gorillaz might drop another album this year.
That's okay.
Yeah, I take your time, please. You mentioned MGMT, Little Dark Age. 2007's Oracular Spectacular was a huge breakout album for them, and then they went in a really interesting direction with their second album, their self-titled album in 2013. Very like inaccessible in a way. So I'm interested to see if they'll move back into form, or if the time off will just made them be weirder. Either way, should be interesting. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like what other. We mentioned Migos. I mean, take your time, please. Although Quavo said was it Offset?
No, Quavo said it's being mixed right now. It's like, okay.
Didn't he say it's gonna be like perfection or something like that?
I don't know about that, but
jeez. Yeah.
I guess I have to have hopes. It's that Migos gave all their leftovers to that Quality Control label compilation album that was like 30 tracks. So they saved all the good ones for Culture 2. That's my hope. I don't know.
You know, I wonder because they say it's imminent. I wonder if they'd almost be smarter to like drop it like around the same time that Atlanta drops this year. When Atlanta starts up, that'd be an
March
interesting.
1st.
Yeah, so if they waited another month, I could see
Mhm.
that. We mentioned Ray Shremmer's Shrem Life 3. Excited for that one.
Yeah, it's been a little more time.
Do you feel like Ray Shremmer needs like another Black Beetle size hit to keep pushing them forward? Or do you think they can just drop a good album and be
now? Right, because they don't need it because they have so many other hits. They have so many other album cuts on their two albums, to the two Shrem Lives, you know. And I saw it at Governor's Ball. They just play banger after banger. Like they're set already. And it's been, you know, it'll be probably almost a year and a half soon by the time it comes out. So it's, you know, they've been working on it a little longer. You know, they're pretty quiet last year once Black Beatles died down. So, you know, hopefully they've been working out with Mike Will. But yeah, no, they're interesting because seeing where this album takes them post, you know, mega success, it's an interesting thing to watch.
Cardi B gonna get an album from her this year, which should be interesting.
Doesn't have one yet.
Well, what do you expect from her album? Do you think it'll be good? Do you think it'll be hit or miss?
It actually, everything she's saying, you know, in the press and her camp's putting out is the right things. Like it sounds like there's going to be a lot of effort into it. Like it's not just going to be, you know, the bloody shoes style Cardi that everyone knows. Like, you know, love songs, maybe a little more R&B. So she clearly wants to make it good, not just throw away, which is cool to see and cool to think about because she's so famous and she's so endearing and she has so many fans that it's good that she doesn't want to just phone it in because she knows she'll print money no matter what, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually excited to see what her album is like. I feel like she really could continue to be like a dominating force in rap. Jack White has an album that's going to be coming out at some point called Boarding House
Reach. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I really liked Lazaretto, dropped in 2014. And then he released just an acoustic compilation from over the years this past year. He's been working with like different collaborators, like A Tribe Called Quest. He was featured on their album or helped produce that album, and Beyonce too. So the first single, was it called Bizarre?
Yeah, he just dropped I think 2 songs, right?
Yeah, he dropped 2 singles. Neither one I thought was great, but yeah, Jack White, I mean, he's a name. It's just like, can he get back to like Jack White, who was in the White Stripes, you know, or the Rockin' Tours? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I mean, people want him to, you know. Yeah. I'll just say it now. I guarantee this album is positively received because people want to love a rock album that's so guitar heavy, you know, because of the lack of them. I'm not going to say it's like Stockholm Syndrome, but like you kind of take what you can get if that's your thing and you just want to love it because it's all you have. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I have faith that it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think it'll be solid. I just don't know if it'll be great. And that's where like the difference is.
So that actually kind of reminds me of something. So there's an act that was really big in 2016, took all of 2017 off. They were a bubbling, you know, internet group for a while, did a lot of festivals, and then they got, you know, mainstream radio hits and had a world tour. And you were a fan for a while. But what do you think is going to come from the next 21 Pilots project? Because I could see one coming at the end of the year.
I agree. I had them written down. I think they're going to continue to become, you know, the transformation from rising indie punk band to
new metal,
total commercial,
right?
Bullshit. Kind of like Fall Out Boy, who also is supposed to have an album coming out this year.
I think it's like this month.
Yeah, which interestingly enough, I think it was supposed to come out at the end of last year. And what Patrick Stump, the lead singer, was like, it was all shit. We felt like it didn't represent us, so we wanted to actually do something that we'd be proud of. So
only Maroon 5 did that.
Yeah, I believe the quote was, they want to release an album that like a good Fall Out Boy album, not just an album just for an album. So that's actually interesting because that gives me some hope that Fall Out Boy might have a album that's actually at least interesting to listen to. 21 Pilots, I have no hope for. I feel like they've just gone commercial. You know, you start headlining festivals with this sound, they're not going to move away from it because this is their moneymaker right now.
Yeah, exactly. The majority of their fans are for that sound, not the old sound. So I don't begrudge them for that, you know. But
no, not at all. Another group that blew up in 2016, then took 2017 off. Car Seat Headrest.
Oh, your guys.
my guy, Will Toledo. It's interesting. So he's dropping an album called Twin Fantasy, which he actually dropped in 2011
right.
by himself. And
it wasn't like mixed or like high quality, right? So he redid it.
No. Yeah, and apparently the real Car Seat Headrest fans, the day one fans, have like loved this project since it was dropped. Which who the fuck was following Car Seat Headrest in 2011? I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I don't know. The first song was 13 minutes long, and I can't bring myself to listen to a 13-minute long song yet. So nope. I'll get to it. What else are you excited for? I have Brockhampton down here. Are we gonna get an album from them this year?
They announced something called Team Effort as the name of a new album, not a Saturation Trilogy entry.
Okay.
So they showed a lot of range and versatility on that trilogy. So, you know, what Team Effort is your guess as good as mine. But I'm really excited to see it. They're at a lot of festivals this year. They have another tour kicking off soon, so I think they'll have a big 2018 as their brand awareness continues to grow.
Yeah, they're fourth line at Boston Calling this year?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little high, you know.
A little high.
They're supposed to be that group you see at 3:00 and get really hyped about, you know.
Right. Well, they're moving past that at Boston Calling for sure. I think they're like sixth or seventh line for Bonnaroo too. They're pretty high up there. Schoolboy Q. We can get an album from Q this year.
Schoolboy Q and YG both had, mid 2016 releases. Could see it again,
Both had solid albums too.
Yeah, no, I really like both of them. So I could definitely see that. We don't have any like singles or anything. They haven't really said anything much, but we know they're working. So that's plausible. I think someone that's a little more bankable would be A$AP Rocky. Because at long last, A$AP was in 2015. It's been a while. Actually, this is a really important release for Rocky because despite a lot of, critical success and, popularity and obviously he's, branch off in the fashion, the A$AP Mob's doing well, but he doesn't have like any big chart hits. His biggest chart hit to date is his pretty bland hook on No Limit with G-Eazy right now. And after that, it's Fucking Problems, which is, been out for a long time, and he's nothing else that made it to top 50. So he could definitely use something a little bigger.
Well, he did that collab album with Lana Del Rey last year, right?
It wasn't an album. He just had, I think, 2 features.
2 songs. Okay.
Yeah. But, Rocky, he said he's been working on it. In 2016, you had A$AP 12's debut. You had a Ferg mixtape, and you had the A$AP Mob's second Cozy Boys tape. So 2018 set up to be, a year showcasing Rocky. And, he's always really worked hard on his albums. So I hope, something can, kind of take off from it this year because, it'll be his 4th record.
Interestingly enough, a band that I'm hoping will, similar to A$AP Rocky now, I'm thinking of it, a band that had like a really big hit that back a decade ago, Franz Ferdinand with Take Me Out, dropping their 5th studio album this coming year, which I think they actually do have a date. It's February 9th. It'll be dropping. It's called Always Ascending. I have really high hopes for this album, actually. Franz Ferdinand, even though they haven't ever gotten back to the success of Take Me Out, that whole first album was fantastic. I'm a huge fan of it. And then the song Love Illumination off their last album just always is in my head. So I'm really excited to see them hopefully produce an album. It sounds like they're moving in a more dancey direction, similar to Spoon. So I'm really hoping that they can capture a little bit of what Spoon did last year.
Interesting.
Give us something interesting.
So speaking of critical darlings, 2016, this band last dropped something. They've been doing festivals, here and there. And they announced an album, no date yet. They announced the name called Music for Cars. The band is called the 1975. I know it's your favorite band to ever exist.
Basically, what all I wrote in my notes was, "Oh God!" Like next to 1975. Jesus Christ!
So they'll probably pop back up, which they are one of the more famous and popular rock acts from this decade. Like, love it or not, that's the case. Let's see. Rihanna, Anti will be 2 years old, I think, in a month or two.
Crazy.
Her 9th album could be coming this year. Like we said, Ariana Grande and Selena Gomez are probably the biggest pop stars that we expect to drop this year. So good opportunity for Rihanna. Do you expect Beyonce to drop something? Lemonade's almost 2. I'm probably going to say no. Just like
I'm going to say no.
You know, I mean, like, go ahead.
You know, it's for Beyonce. I feel like she writes now when she has something to write about. Like Lemonade was a product of the drama going on between her and Jay-Z. I don't see her just making songs to make songs, and I don't think she's going to rush through another album, especially after she just had a second kid. I think it'll be another year before we see
she also doesn't need the like maintain relevancy aspect of it, you know, like people will be listening as soon as you say it's coming or as soon as you tease it. So she has nothing to worry about. No need to rush. Do you think Chance the Rapper releases something? Coloring Book, almost 2 years old. Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, his quote debut album will be something that you can hype up, but I don't think he needs to. He's been staying, you know, in the zeitgeist without new music. You know, he did it all last year. You know, he made some like new songs for like Colbert. You know, he did more of the Merry Christmas Little Mama with Jeremiah like last month. So I'm inclined to say no. Maybe he'll pop up on some features, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Chance, I think will take his time. He's collaborating on so much stuff, and seems like he has his hand in so many different projects.
That's right. Yeah, he is just very busy with a lot of stuff too. So that's a good point.
You know who? This is probably not someone you'd expect me to bring up. Casey Musgraves going to be dropping her third album, if you don't count her Christmas album. Her second album was very critically acclaimed, and the reason that I really wanted to mention her was Ezra Koenig has been collaborating with her a lot. So I could either see her maybe featured on a Vampire Weekend album or at least a production credit for songwriting. But her second album, I think it was called Pageant Material. It was a huge country album in 2015. So country fans, country heads, if you have never listened to Nowstalgia Pod before, tune in for this kind of analysis. Casey Musgraves, rising star.
Do you think Sia will drop something? I mean, she just had the Christmas album come out, but if you don't count that, her last album was January 2016.
Yeah, I think
she's been big since then, so you know, I definitely think she could strike.
Yeah, I think Sia will definitely drop something. She's obviously been in the studio, so you know, someone that I mentioned earlier, but I want to kind of shout out again, David Byrne. So he's a really interesting guy. He's lead singer of Talking Heads. He had a solo career after the Talking Heads broke up in '91, but his last like solo album, just him, was 2004. He's been collaborating with artists like St. Vincent since then, which I think he collaborated with her in an album in 2014. So he's been doing some really interesting stuff. He wrote a musical with Fatboy Slim that made it to Broadway. So he's done like a lot of really interesting things. I think his solo album is impending, and it's going to be interesting to listen to say the least. So definitely going to be something that's on my radar. There's a lot of old heads dropping albums this year. I'm just going to run through them real quick. Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney, who's working with super producer Greg Kurstin and has been for like a couple of years on this album. So maybe it will be worth listening to. Loretta Lynn, Joan Baez, Joe Perry, Judas Priest. The Beatles' White Album Deluxe is dropping this year.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know. And then Jimi Hendrix, they're dropping an album called Both Sides of the Sky on March 9th. And this is the last songs that have been unreleased from his vault. So this is like the last new Jimi Hendrix stuff that the world will ever get, which, I mean, he's been dead for almost 50 years now. So I'm not sure why they didn't just wait till next year to do this, but they're probably have some huge Jimi Hendrix 50-year anniversary thing. Also, Phife Dawg. There's rumor that they might drop a posthumous record. So,
interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of
stuff.
Speaking of old heads, Nas said on the DJ Khaled song Nas album done that his album was done. And that song came out in the summer of 2016. So Nas, what's good, bruh? You got to follow up Hove, right?
Where's the album? He's just trying to fix wolves, man. Maybe that.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of that, Kanye,
yeah, go ahead.
Album?
No, I don't think so.
I think we are.
You think so? Interesting.
I don't know. I'm also like a sucker. I just really want more Kanye music in my life.
It's about to be 2 years. I don't know. It seems too fast, given that a big part of that he wasn't really working on that album, you know?
Yeah, but all the speculation is that the last time he's this quiet, he drops My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy out of nowhere.
That's the hope.
Also, there's like this Instagram post that said new Kanye music coming, and the Donda team, a couple people from the Donda team liked it. So there's like speculation that if they're liking it, that must be a sign that there is new music in fact coming.
Shit.
Who the fuck knows? But I'd really like to see some Kanye up in the hills of Montana music. Maybe that will be more Justin Timberlake, Man of the Wild than his actual album will be. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, just a few others. You mentioned Rae Jepsen. Somehow Emotion is almost 3 years old. She had that single Can't Stop This Feeling last year. She's had quite the career turnaround post Call Me Maybe. So people actually hyped for that.
The fact that the Call Me Maybe girl is a legitimate pop artist now is like the biggest like upset in the world. I thought she would definitely be gone by now.
Absolutely. Post Malone has a record coming. Not a fan, but he's really famous and does really good on the charts. Travis Scott announced an album called Astro World, like at the beginning of 2017, and it was supposed to come out in 2017 according to him, but it didn't. So I mean, Birds in the Trap was a fall 2016 album, so it hasn't been that long, but maybe it will come out. Who knows? Zayn released an album in 2016. Could see him pop up.
And Liam Payne.
Yeah, Liam Payne and Louis Tomlinson are the last two 1Ders to not release their solo albums. So, they'll definitely have to do it this year. Rita Ora released her only album in 2012, and she's like still like around. Like she's still like, famous. So like, is she just not making pop music anymore? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Rita Ora is kind of like an enigma to me. I feel like she just pops in and out of my life like at random times.
She never got big here in the States, really. Which is, I don't know. That's whatever. Let's see.
What about Frank Ocean?
No, come on, dude.
He's been teasing new music. He's been saying in like tweets and stuff, if you love 2017, 2018, it's going to be amazing.
Sure. A lot of people do that, though.
Yeah, Frank Ocean, too, will tease all year and not drop anything.
I mean, I'm not excited about Marshmello, but he did last drop in 2016, so I could see him. He's pretty popular right now. But who I would be excited about would be Skrillex. So Skrillex released his only album in 2014, and then the Jack U project with Diplo, Where Are You Now, the Bieber hit, that was 2015. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
So if Skrillex was to release something this year, I would actually be pretty interested because I thought Recess, that one album he did have, was pretty cool. And, the biggest DJs these days all sound the same, more or less, Kygo and Marshmello.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is between those two dudes. One guy has a hat, one guy doesn't. So we'll see if Skrillex drops. I know Major Lazer was active, so Diplo's still kind of around. But, I mean, EDM's fall from major hype has kind of continued to happen. So we'll see what kind of impact that album would make if it does come out.
I'm not as that excited for any EDM albums that I can think of at the moment. I mean, Major Lazer, I think, is dropping one, which I think would be, it might be interesting. Lean On was one of my favorite, just bubblegum pop songs to listen to. A band I never really listened to, but it's worth noting that they're supposedly have an album on the way, My Bloody Valentine. So they were a band that was big in the late 80s, early 90s, then didn't produce another album for 22 years until 2013. They dropped their own album. So they've rumor that there's going to be new music. If they did drop, they would probably, I'd imagine, drop sometime in the summer and then headline festivals next year. But I also get the sense they don't really care about that, so they'll probably just drop it whenever, especially if it's dropped on their own. I've never really got into My Bloody Valentine, but a bit they're huge with especially like older rock fans, which I mean, isn't that everybody at this point? So. Another band that I think there's an outside shot of seeing an album would be the Alabama Shakes. Sound and Colors, 3 years old as of April. So
makes sense.
I could see them dropping something, but they've been pretty quiet. So I think we could see maybe early 2019 for the next album.
Yeah, I mean, I love Luna George to drop something again. Last one was 2016. That would be cool.
What about Disclosure? Isn't
oh shit, that's a good one. That was 2016 too.
Yep.
What do you call it? Caracal?
Yeah, Caracal. Yeah,
that's a good one.
There's definitely some maybes, some not even on the radars that could be dropping to be excited for. But even the ones that we mentioned that are heavily rumored or impending it's lined up to be a really solid music year. That I could see rock, especially if Vampire Weekend, the Arctic Monkeys, and Franz Ferdinand all drop, and even MGMT, if they all drop solid albums, I think you could see rock having a little bit of a resurgence, a little bit.
Right.
Give me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, what do you call it? So Disclosure, Caracal was September 2015.
Damn.
And what do you call it? Let's see. Let me scroll. 5 days ago on Disclosure's Instagram, they did announce that they are working on their third album.
Yeah.
So let's hope, because they're actually one of the few interesting and unique acts in EDM these days,
Yeah, definitely. Any last thoughts on albums of the year, Dave?
No, I mean, I think tying it all together, there wasn't a whole lot to read in the first wave of festivals. Like Arctic Monkeys was the only one we learned. Jack White already told us. So, there was no obvious out of nowhere, big act on there. So it's tough to project much besides what we've already done. So, we'll see.
Yeah, but with all the artists we're talking about, it looks like festivals should be able to develop a much more eclectic lineup next year than they have this with who's touring and what albums are dropping. So festivals might have a down year this year, but maybe if this year is good in music, like we're hoping it will be, next year could be different. Any last thoughts or any albums we missed, anything to wrap it up?
No, I mean, I think that's good. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you like what you hear. That's a big help to us. And you can find that link at soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod.
Yeah, and find Dave on Twitter at Martin Swagger. He's a good follow. He's been reviewing all the movies he's been seeing. I saw Call Me By Your Name today. I'm not going to spoil my review, but I have some thoughts. It's been sitting with me.
Good.
So I also saw I, Tanya. I plan to see The Post and Phantom Thread in the next couple weeks. So
I'm seeing Phantom Thread tonight.
Tonight? Oh shit! I'll be looking forward to your Twitter review. You can find me at Shooting World Peace. I don't Twitter review, but I will sometimes tweet about the Patriots if you care about that. Follow the show at Nowstalgia Pod. And leave us an iTunes rating and review. It helps. We like to get feedback and know how we can improve the show. So engage with us. We're here for you. What do we want to do next week? We want to talk about I, Tanya or Call Me By Your Name?
Yeah, we can chime in on some movies. And, look at that. American Crime Story starts this week, so we'll probably talk about that premiere.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's what we had to look forward to, folks. We'll see you next week.